don't pay a lot of attention to the news, but I do know that there are things going on in our world right now that can seem pretty scary. And it struck me the other day, as I hear from many of you, that a lot of us are harboring anxiety, fears about things that we feel are out of our control. And we look out at that world and we can feel like there's a few key players and they could blow the world into smithereens, and the rest of us just get to watch as our world and our lives evaporate. Today, I would like to share with you a very important message, and that is that you matter. I know there's 1,000 voices in our culture that tell us otherwise. Even as, on one hand, we're told, pursue your dreams and try to reach for greatness. On the other hand, we're sold this idea through advertisements that tell us that we basically suck, through news that continues to foster this feeling of helplessness and hopelessness inside of us, that really you don't matter. You're just one insignificant player in this world drama, and you're so insignificant that essentially you don't even count. That is not true. You do matter. I'm not saying that just to be feel good. Today I'm going to tell you how you matter and how you can maximize your power to shape the world in every moment of your life. I know some of you may be thinking that there's certain people in this world that wield more power and have more potential to create change in the world than others. And we might be thinking of presidents or great speakers or the Mother Teresas of our world that have done something to make themselves stand out, and thus they can create great change. That may be true. At the same time, we can't lose sight of the fact that every single one of us is changing the world around us in every moment. This is not new age stuff. Maybe some of you believe in a collective super consciousness that we're all part of. But even if you're a very rational thinker, consider the internet and how that connects all of us. And consider that every social interaction that you have leaves an impression. When you talk with someone, you change them in some way. If you are fearful and you talk to them about your fear, you pass on that fear. And they might that night be really starting to feel a lot more frightened than they would have about the way the world is. And they may pass that on to their spouse or their children, and that spreads. And that is the key understanding, that every time we interact with the world, we're creating change. Consider this giant human drama with nations, with laws, with television shows, with marriages that are blossoming and breaking, with wars. There's 1,000 aspects to this drama. But this human drama, it needs all of us, humans, for it to continue on. And what that means is that every single human is creating that drama, that unfolding drama. And it's not created only by the presidents and the generals and the TV stars. It's created by you. So here it is, this huge human drama, and each of us is playing a part. And the question that I think is essential that we all ask ourselves in every moment of living is, what are we adding to that human experiment? Think of it as a giant pot of stew. What ingredients are you adding in? And you have the power to add your little bit of ingredient today into the human stew. What are you going to add? If I'm watching these news programs or certain speakers that are saying, the world is ending, everything's falling apart, be ready for the apocalypse, and that fills me with fear and anxiety, then in each moment that I interact with the world, I'm adding fear and anxiety into that stew pot. And if you've ever gone through a grocery line at the grocery store and interacted with the clerk behind the counter, you know that your attitude, what you bring to that interaction, has a huge effect on their state of being. Go through there and be in a sour mood and say something a little snippy to them, you can ruin their whole day. Look at them, find something that you truly appreciate about them, and compliment that. Ask them a heartfelt question about their life, and you might open them up and blossom them in a way that changes their whole day. And notice, again, this is so essential that we understand this, that person behind the counter, they're going to go home and they're going to take that seed that you planted and they're going to share that. Because if they come home in a pissy mood because you were really rude to them, that's going to affect their family. They're going to be pissed off because their day sucked, and then they're going to say something snappy to their husband or wife, and that's going to get everybody in a sour mood. It's going to affect the children. What you do matters. And I will say that it matters more than most of us think. What if today, instead of being filled with fear and anxiety and adding that to the stew pot, what if I am filled with compassion, with love, with gratitude? And when I interact with people, I tell them they matter. I tell them that they're cared about. I tell them that I believe in them and their potential, and your potential, to blossom out into your best self. And when you do that, you are going to change the world. You're going to be adding a different ingredient into that stew pot. You're going to be adding compassion. You're going to be adding love. You're going to be adding thoughtfulness. So the question is, today, will I tune into some of these news sources and some of these speakers? They're going to fill me with fear. And then I'm going to spread that. Or am I going to wake up in the morning with a gratitude practice? Am I going to look at what's positive in the world, what I can effectively change, instead of just sitting on my couch and worrying or complaining? And I'm going to step out and I'm going to see my elderly neighbor that could use a hand raking the yard, or maybe just could use somebody to talk to today. Or I'm going to see that kid across the street that just is sitting outside and looks really sad. I'm going to go exchange some words and tell him something that inspires him and changes his day? Where around me can I reach out to others and change them in positive ways? Plant seeds of caring and compassion. Because what would this world be like if more and more of us started planting compassion, love, caring, thoughtfulness? And we plant that seed, we put that ingredient into the stew, and it starts to change the way the stew tastes. And every time we put a little bit of that in, it spreads out to others around us. Just by being, we change the world. How am I going to be today? What ingredients, what flavors am I going to put into the stew pot of the human experience? I want to say that I do believe in you. I know that every single one of us holds vast potential. And there are probably a lot of forces in your life that are holding you back from being your most best self. But a lot of those influences are more under our control than we think. What kind of media are we intaking? Do I move my body today and thus create a flood of positive health and chemicals into my brain that shift my mood? Am I going to choose to look at the challenges that I'm facing and fall into despair? Am I going to look at those challenges and rise up to meet them? These are the everyday questions we get to ask ourselves. And I know that you have it in you to look at those questions and to make choices that are going to add awesome things into the stew pot of the human condition. Tomorrow, I'm going to do my utmost. Kenton, I'm going to do my utmost to add the best ingredients I can into the stew pot. And I'm going to ask all of us to do the same thing. Everybody that watches this video, do the same thing. Add the best things that you possibly can into that human stew pot. And watch what happens. See if that spreads around you. And it will. And then tomorrow, we all do this, the world is going to be slightly different. And the next day, if we do it again, the world is going to be slightly different. And we don't have to live in fear anymore. We don't have to dwell in anxiety. We can know that we are changing the world in every moment through our every interaction. All it takes is enough of us doing this, making these positive changes in ourselves, watching them ripple out around us, and we can change the world. This is what I would ask of myself. This is what I would ask of all of you. Tomorrow, let's make the world a little bit more of an amazing, compassionate, loving, caring, thoughtful place. Thank you for watching. If you're a regular watcher, you know that I have a Patreon page, and that is how I continue to support this work. I have a vision of moving more and more to doing these videos kind of full time. I would love to be putting these out more often. Help me out by becoming a patron. I am extremely grateful for all of you that are supporting me, and I would love to have you be a patron as well.